Good morning. Appreciate you tuning in and watching this morning. It's another good day in the Lord here on the beach in Florida. It's been our last day here. I'm just thankful for this another opportunity to be able to present God's Word live on Facebook and do these devotionals of the life of Jesus. If the video is grainy and the signal's not good, I apologize. I try to find a good signal here on the beach, but I will, if it's not good, I will upload it again later with a better signal. This morning, we're going to be looking at another event in Jesus' life, and it's going to be coming out of John chapter 2, verses 12 through 25. That's where we're going to start reading this morning. And as we stop for a few minutes just to reflect on Jesus' life this morning before we start our normal day. And you know, I'm just amazed at God's creation. You know, you can hear the waves behind me, and as I'm walking up and down the beach and just listening to the birds and just saying a little prayer and just trying to get in the right mindset to present these lessons, you know, I've got to clean everything out. I've got to clean all the distraction out. I've got to clean all the junk and the sin that's out of my life and ask God just to help me, to forgive me. And it's a daily process. It's something I have to do every day. And as we look at this event in Jesus' life, you'll see that there is he had to do some cleansing as well, not for himself, but for the temple. He had to get the sin out of the temple that was disrespecting his Father's house. And you know, we have to do the same thing with our own life. And we're going to look at this, and as we talked about yesterday, we looked at where Jesus healed the leper, or healed the lame man, not the leper, but he did heal a leper, you know, right before that. But yesterday we talked about when he healed the man of the palsy, the paralyzed man. His four friends brought him into the house and opened up the roof and let him down in, and Jesus healed him that day. Told him, he forgave him of his sins, and then he told him to pick up his stretcher and walk, and he did. You know, we don't have to let those things of our past hinder us. We can pick them up and carry them. No, that's part of our life, but Jesus has changed us. Those things are in the past, and Jesus has made us new. And I'm thankful for that today, that he's made me new. Again, we're looking in John chapter 2, verses 12 through 25. After this, he went down to Capernaum, and his mother and his brother and his disciples, and they continued there many days. And the Jews' Passover was at hand, and Jesus went to Jerusalem, and found in the temple those that sold oxen, sheep, and doves, and the changers of the money sitting. And when he had made a scourge of small cords, he drove them all out of the temple, and the sheep and the oxen, and poured out the money, the changers' money, and overthrew the tables. And he said unto them that sold doves, Take these things hence, and make not my Father's house a house of merchandise. And his disciples remembered that it was written, The zeal of thine house hath eaten me up. Then answered the Jews, and said unto him, What sign showest thou unto us, seeing that thou hast doing these things? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. And then said the Jews, 46 years was this temple in building, and wilt thou rear it up in 3 days? And he spoke of the temple of his body. When therefore he was risen from the dead, his disciples remembered that he had said this unto them. They believed the scripture and the word which Jesus said. Now when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover, in the feast day, many believed in his name, when they saw the miracles which he did. But Jesus did not commit himself unto them, because he knew all men, and needed not that any should testify of man, for he knew what was in a man. Now, this is reading, I apologize for mistakes, but this is reading John chapter 2, verses 12 through 25. And as we look at this event in Jesus' life, you know, he came to Jerusalem here and found his temple full of sin. And and he went into this before he went into the temple. After he saw all these things happening, he went and made a scourge. He took time, and he didn't just rush into it. He didn't just go and act out of anger. He did exactly what he needed to do to take care of business. And that's what we need to do. We need to take time and not and look at our life, look at the situation around us, see what needs to be removed, and ask the Lord to help us, ask the Lord to forgive us, ask the Lord to remove these things in our life. And that's a lot of people might look at this as well, he's just like one of those rioters, but that's not the case. That's not the case at all. If you look in John chapter 3, when he's talking to Nicodemus, which we'll look into in a few days, whenever the Lord leads us that direction. But he says in 17 that God sent not his Son into the world to condemn it, but that the world through him might be saved. He came into this world to remove sin. He came into this world that he might save it. And when we've got all this sin in our life, we've got all these things that are taking up our attention, the money changers, the oxen, the sheep, the merchants. We've got all of these things in our life trying to pull us this way and pull us that way. Our temple, which is our heart now. And Jesus dwells in my heart. That's where he lives. That's where he dwells. When it gets cluttered up and gets full of all these things that are in the world, it can't do what it's supposed to do. It can't live a life that is glorifying to God. It can't live a life that's full of love. It can't live a life that's full of prayer and studying of the Word, because it's so distracted and so hindered that the Holy Spirit, it can't lead a person in this way or that way, because we're being pulled by everything else. And what I want us to recognize today, that this is Jesus' purpose, is when we get saved, he changes us from the inside. He changes us, and we, as he talks about Nicodemus, we were born again, born from above, born anew. All of these things are changed. And he takes out that sin. He places himself in there, in his place. Now we have sin of the flesh that we have to be judged here while we're on earth, that we commit, that has to be handled and dealt with. At the same time, we go to Jesus, and we ask him to forgive us and ask him to lead us in the right way, and not to fall to these things that the world wants us to fall to, what Satan wants us to fall to. He would love for us to fill our lives up with all these things. How are we going to pay the bills? How are we going to provide these things that the world says that we need? And before you know it, our temple, our heart, it's just like this temple. But we got one that can clean it out. We got one that can remove those things that will hinder us, and his name is Jesus. There's as I said before, that Jesus was coming in here and he was saying things that made people angry. They didn't understand, but he was fulfilling the scriptures in this process. He was doing things that had never been done before. And it confused them. They didn't understand. It said here that 46 years it took to build the temple. I don't know what process you've been in. I don't know what rehab you've been in. I don't know what process you've tried to get involved in to change your life, to rebuild your life. You may have been working for years and it's not working. You may have been working for 46 years trying to get things right in your life, and it's not working. Well, Jesus, let me tell you, he can do it. It won't take him 3 days this time. When he rebuilds your life, it'll be instantaneously when you ask him with a true heart. A true heart. Not one of these that's playing games, not a heart that's trying to get something from him, but a heart that wants him, that wants to know him more than your own self. And I promise you, he will rebuild that heart faster than you can ever imagine. When I was saved as a 7-year-old child, I did not understand all these things, but what I did understand is I had trouble and sorrow in my heart, and I had to get rid of it. I had trouble and sorrow, and I wanted peace in my heart. And the only way that I could find that peace is to go to Jesus. And that's all I knew. All the stories that I had learned about the Old Testament pointed me to Jesus, but those things, when I went up to the altar that morning, that wasn't what I was thinking about. Those things were not what I was focused on. But what I was focused on, what I was thinking about is finding Jesus. And I'm thankful that morning as a 7-year-old child that I was able to find Jesus. That trouble left, and he rebuilt my temple when he saved my soul. He rebuilt my heart anew, gave me a new heart. A heart of flesh that can feel, that can love. But what happens is, as I've already described here, just as this temple was full of money changers and animals and things that it ought not be. And that's the same way that my heart gets filled up with things that ought not be filled up with. And let me tell you, when Jesus chastises you, it feels like a scourge sometimes, because he knows exactly how to get your attention. And when he gets your attention, it hurts. I'm sure when that scourge was cracking as he was running into the temple, trying to clean it out of those things that were in there that shouldn't be, I'm sure that whip hit a few maybe, and I'm sure it hurt. I know that there's been many times where that Jesus has chastised me and tried to get my attention, and it's hurt. You know, he went in there and he turned over the money changers' tables. I can tell you, if Jesus can overturn your life real quick. He can turn it upside down real quick. If he's dealing with you and you ignore him, he can turn it up like you've never been turned up before. He'll turn it upside down, and things will start breaking. Families will start, the ones you thought you were your real friends, they'll start turning their back on you. And you may have done good for a long time, and then all those enemies start coming back, and all those attacks start coming back at you, and you start falling into the tricks of Satan. You start falling to the things that start filling up your heart even more and destroying your life. But if you would just stop and let God do his work, let Jesus do his work. When Jesus comes in, he doesn't come in with a scourge anymore. If you're lost, it feels conviction, it hurts when you feel lost, but he comes in with love. When he truly comes in and cleans out that sin, that's what that pain and that trouble and that sorrow is doing, is it's letting you know that something's wrong and it needs to be set right. And when Jesus comes in, he comes in with love. He comes in with love. And when he takes away that trouble and places peace in your heart, it's unlike anything that you'll ever experience here on this earth. It's a peace that only Jesus can give. And he's the only one with the right to give it. That's why, it's so important that we as God's people make sure that our temple is clean, so that we can let the world know about this love that Jesus has placed in our heart, that he can place in their heart. We let them know that he can rebuild your life. It might be you might have been trying to rebuild it in other places. Well, there's other examples in here, as we will look at in the future, of where a woman had an issue of blood and she was struggling for years to figure out this issue. Jesus took care of it right on the spot. This man that we talked about yesterday, how he was crippled his whole life, and now Jesus took care of it right on the spot. He rebuilt his temple. He rebuilt his life right there, and for eternity. He said his sins have been forgiven. Whenever I was saved that morning, he not only rebuilt my heart at that moment, he rebuilt it for eternity. It's not going to be tore down. My foundation is upon Jesus. I'm thankful today that I have that peace in my heart. I'm thankful today that I know where I stand. I stand with Jesus. Now, there's going to be other examples in the scriptures that we look at, and I'm excited about this. I didn't think it was going to take this long. I'm not even barely even getting started. It seems like it's been 2 weeks, and I'm still talking about the beginning of Jesus' ministry. And that's what the John says in the book of John, that there's so many things that Jesus did that the Bible wouldn't be able to hold them. The Bible you couldn't keep them in books. There's so much that he did in the scriptures and when he was alive walking on earth, and he's still doing it today. He might not be walking in the flesh, but he's walking in the spirit. He's out here doing what he does. He's left the 99. He's calling out to the lost, trying to save those that need to be saved. But today I want you to think about your temple. I want you to think about what needs to be cleaned out, and how that we do that. when you feel that scourge, when you feel that conviction, you seek after Jesus and let him come in and clean your life up. Let him come in and take care of those things that need to be taken care of. And when he takes care of it, he'll take care of it right. It'll be done right the first time. Now, we may dirty it up every now and then. We go back to him and ask him for forgiveness. I'm thankful that he's long-suffering. I'm thankful that he's loving, merciful, and gracious. You know, I'm just this the last day I'm gonna be able to do this on the beach. You know, it's just it's been fun coming out here in the mornings and doing these devotionals. And I hope they help somebody. I pray that if there's somebody listening today that's lost, that you would seek after him, Jesus, until you know you've been saved. If you're been saved and your life is in shambles and you don't know what else to do, turn to Jesus. Let him come in and take care of all those situations. You say, well, I've done it, I've tried, I'm tired of trying. Well, quit trying and let Jesus handle it. Let Jesus handle it. I love you, praying for you. I hope you have a great day. Love you.